Sean Daniel,
What's happening, man?
what are you working on right now, man?
I am working on healing because I got bit by a dog this morning.
Are you kidding me?
I'm not joking. Rough start. I was like, all right, going on the podcast. Go talk to my boy Brandon. Gonna go get some coffee. I'm walking to the coffee shop, and this little dog on a leash, a Pomeranian, might I add, like a little dog, is barking at me. Right, so I'm coming towards it, and I'm like, well, I'm not gonna walk around because that's a cowardly thing to do, right?
Mhm.
Like
Yes.
like a real tough guy like myself, I can handle a Pomeranian. It's all bark, no bite. So I just keep walking, and it's ferocious. And the owner's like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I'm sorry." I'm like, "Oh, it's okay. I'm just gonna scoot right by you." And then it just sunk its little teeth into my leg as I like walked by, and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, what's happening?" And I was viciously attacked by a dog.
Well, I'm happy that you're still with us, man. Like that sounds like a close
Yeah,
call.
it was a close call, and I just don't. Looking back on the situation, I don't know what I would have done differently because you can't cross the street, right?
Yeah.
And it's like I can't hunt the dog once it bites me. You almost just have to like take it. You have to take the bite, and I don't know,
It,
man.
it, it becomes mind over matter, at that
It
point.
it really is because also I don't want to be the kind of guy who gets bit by a dog and then is really upset at the owner. I want to have like some grace about it.
Yeah. Well, do you have any animals yourself?
No, I don't.
Okay.
So I don't know what I should have done. I don't know the proper etiquette when you're bitten by a stranger's dog, but I don't know. So that's where we're at.
Yeah.
Well, I
Well,
think the owner is to blame in this case. Like, I mean, this person should have done something, I guess.
Yeah, right. I mean, she was very sorry, but I wasn't trying to make her feel bad, but also, I've been attacked by your animal. I don't know the etiquette. So let us know in the comments what the proper etiquette is when you're bitten by a stranger's dog.
yes, sir. So, and where was this? Because you're on the West Coast, right?
Yes, this is so East Los Angeles is where it is. Beautiful place. It's finally nice out. It's been like end of days rainstorming the last month. So
Yeah, that's crazy weather for that area. I've
it
actually
really
been
is.
I've been hearing that like there's a couple people I know like Rudy and Shredmaster Scott is out there as
Oh
well.
yeah.
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 And they were saying the weather's been shit lately.
Tough, man. But like I said, it's just like a Pomeranian biting your leg. You just gotta grit through it, and it'll come out clean on the other side.
Yeah, like the teeth come out clean on the other side.
Sure. You can use that metaphor however you feel like it. But yeah, that's about it.
That's funny, man.
Hmm.
All right. So, in terms of guitar and like YouTube, like you've been around, like you've been on the scene for quite a long time.
Yeah, a bit of a patriarch almost, if you will. I guess it's been like 6 or 7 years. I don't even know how years work anymore post COVID. So it's just been a while. Yeah.
Yeah, it's that's fair. That's fair. So like, um, so with a lot of your content, I noticed like you teach quite a bit. So is that like kind of the main thing? Like, do you teach students privately as well, or like?
The whole thing started from teaching privately, which I think kind of gave me all the ideas to kind of keep it going this long. I don't really teach privately anymore at this point, just because the YouTube thing and then a bunch of other side stuff that I'm working on has kind of taken over all of my time, essentially. And, avoiding wild animals, that takes a good amount of mental constitution, but definitely I wouldn't have been able to do what I do now without having those years of just doing private guitar lessons and stuff.
Well, yeah, 100%. I mean, like, if you're teaching content, like, well, the type of content that you put out on your channel, one wouldn't really be able to create that type of content without having the prior experience from actually doing it.
Totally,
You know what I mean?
100%. And that's like without question. And that's why it's so important to like maybe if you are a guitar player to just have any kind of student because like there's that old adage like I learn more from my students than my students learn from me.
Yeah.
Which is actually wrong. It's kind of wrong, because you don't want to learn more. But there's something to it for sure because everybody learns differently, so you kind of get you just get this vocabulary of what's going to connect to one student as compared to another, and trying to make the best of all worlds.
So, do you have a greatest lesson that you've taken from a student?
Oh man, that's that's a good question. You know, it's funny. It's like, well, you've taught privately too, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so what happens is you kind of become like buddies with your students a lot of the time, which is funny because like it's such a dynamic age range, and like you'll be talking to people who you would never encounter. Like I'm not going to hang out with like 13-year-olds most of the time, right?
Most of the
And
time.
most of the time, I remember one time, dude, it was like I think she was like maybe she was like a 16-year-old girl, and she was like really like super off, and I'm like, and she's usually super fun and like bubbly, and I'm like what's going on? And you can tell someone was bothering her. And anyways, long story short, I ended up talking her through a pregnancy scare, which is like totally not my job. But that's like the lesson that I was just like, man, this is like some like after school special. Like the overwhelmed shook guitar teacher is like stepping in for like an absentee parent.
Yeah, definitely not in the job description.
Yeah, and again, that was the lesson that I learned from that one, is that I probably just don't want to have kids myself. You
Right.
know,
And you
it's
don't.
like yeah, it's at this point, not no.
Well, how old are you?
39.
Okay. Yeah,
Yep.
don't look a day over 29.
Oh, stop it, Brandon. Jeez.
I'm a charmer. I'm a charmer.
Listen. I mean, yeah. Let's be real here. We're the two best looking guitar YouTubers, right?
I mean, I think that it
Come
would
on.
be a bit ludicrous and presumptuous for someone to say otherwise.
For sure. I want to shout out my man Michael Bradley holding it down in England, but I do feel like if there was like an Olympics of just handsome, sexy guitar YouTubers, like you would be repping Canada. I'm the American guy.
Of course, of course.
You know, that could be his own podcast in the future, just going country by country.
I agree. I mean, I got this podcast. It might be up to you to start that one, but I could be.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
All right. I'm on it.
Yeah, and I mean, representing the States, that's a pretty big deal because you guys got a lot, right? Canada, we don't have that many, right? So,
I will say there's more than you would think, though. Because like there's my boy Samurai Guitarist, shout out, holding it down in Winnipeg for some reason.
Yeah.
Jalen or Jay, that dude's a monster. He's the best. Okay, so 3. So that's all I can think of.
I can also think of Stevie T, which like no question I am better looking than him. Like that's not even up for debate.
Come on, man. Come on, dude. Yeah. please.
And then there's my boy Roy Ziv, who I mean, he's a handsome dude, so I got to give credit where it's due.
I'm about it, man. That's what we do here. We hit the hard hitting topics and keep pushing.
Yeah, we have the hard conversations.
The other podcasters are afraid to handle.
Yeah, that's why people tune in here, right? Because we don't hold back.
Nope, no punch. Hot takes.
Hot takes with Brandon, Sean, and Kyle.
How you doing down there, Kyle?
Yeah, everything going well here. Honestly, I was trying to think of the best looking YouTubers from Brazil. But, yeah, I mean, I guess if I consider myself a YouTuber, because while I do use YouTube to give feedback to students, yes, I'd be up for it.
That counts. And just your association with me and Brandon kind of lifts you into another stratosphere.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's like you want to be a good guitar player, you gotta hang out with good guitar players. So if you want to be handsome, just hang out with handsome people.
You got to have the look. This is like some riveting podcast. And there's like 3 dudes just like hyping each other. Just hype boys.
Okay, so far this has been like this is a first in in terms of this podcast, but I mean I'm all for it. Like I think it's hilarious. It's been the most funny podcast from my perspective so far.
Covering a lot of ground,
Of course.
We've already had a dog attack, a pregnancy scare, and just 3 boys hyping each other.
Yeah, I mean, if we don't, no one else will. So that's the way I look at it.
You're not going to find this on Beato's podcast.
No, sir.
Mm-mm.
So who do you watch though? Like for YouTubers, like do you watch much YouTube at all?
No, not really. Not like music YouTube. I mean, I like my friends for sure. Like I said, like Samurai, my friend Davidas, I watch him. You know, it's funny just because like I'm so in the YouTube mix, it's almost like that's the last thing I want to do is like watch more YouTube. And I do feel like you're probably supposed to be staying up on like the trends and stuff, but I just don't.
Yeah.
So, you know,
Well,
mostly I'll watch. Oh, no, go ahead.
sorry, I was just gonna say, well, it seems like with a lot of your content anyway, it's pretty evergreen. So like you don't really have to pay attention to trends as much, right?
For sure. You know what I will say? So I do like your education is like kind of like the number one thing, but I do like a ton of gear reviews and stuff. Like I'm really tight with Sweetwater and Elixir. So I do a lot of gear demos. And that's when I'll watch YouTube because I see how other creators use it, so I know how to use it myself. So I basically watch the videos to teach me how to do the video I'm supposed to do.
Yeah, I mean, definitely important. And
Mhm.
so with like a lot of these sponsorship kind of things that you have worked out, like did a lot of them come from you reaching out or like did they reach out to you? Did you meet up with NAM people? Like,
I would say most of the ones are them reaching out to me, but I do think that just having a presence at the conventions and then just kind of just talking to a bunch of people and just showing that you're a capable person that can get things done, just seems to go a long way. So, I mean, I'm sure you get like the spam emails all the time, right?
oh, totally.
Yeah, that every now and then that'll be a hit, but most of like the better long lasting recurring partnerships I have all maybe started over email, but then solidified like in person at a convention or something like that.
Solid. And
Hmm.
like, how have these brands approached you in a way that actually made you interested in the deal? Because sometimes I find with brands, and like I talked to some other guys about this, is like the brand will reach out, but their side of the deal is just not appealing at all.
Oh, totally, right? I mean, I have like kind of a baseline of what I think is a fair price, to go back and forth with the brand. And it is kind of funny because I feel like some people are just like they're just wild. Like, hey, would you do a video on a music stand? Like, we can give you a free music stand. And it's like, I mean, like, no, come on. Like, can I at least get like two music stands out of it? That's negotiation, just power bargaining, just asking for extra Amazon music stands. But yeah, I think you just kind of get a feel for knowing your own worth after doing it for a long time, how much it's worth to a company, and then just you want to be fair to the companies you are working with already when you're kind of maybe bringing on a new one too.
Hmm. Yeah, 100%. Like for me, I always use like, and this is like, this is juicy, for you guys listening. Like,
Man.
but like for me, I mean, maybe not so juicy, but I think of it as juicy. But basically, if a brand reaches out to me and they make a deal, well, I know for myself, like if I create a long form YouTube video and I talk about my own product, 52-week guitar player, and I make a sale, like I can usually make a sale if I like at least one if I'm creating a
Right.
video that's designed with that type of call to action, right?
Hmm.
Right. So if a brand is offering me X amount, it's like, well, will I make more than that if I made another video creating another video promoting my own product? So if what they're offering is less than that, it doesn't make sense for me to pursue the deal, right?
Yeah, it's tough, and it also is like how much do you want to upload? I feel like I have a pretty aggressive uploading schedule because I'm a man of the people, I want to make people happy. If the music stand if the Ma and Pa Chinese music stand manufacturer wants to get their wares to the world, like, I'll try to find a way to accommodate everybody. And that's the advantage of being able to post like a lot. I know my stuff is very just one take, so I can get it out and get it going. I'm not too precious about anything. And I think that kind of lends itself to a laid back kind of perspective from an audience that they've just become used to from me. And it also is easier to facilitate something to do with like new brands, even if it's maybe not what I originally wanted or what they really wanted. Basically, what I try to shoot for a brand deal is both of us ending up unhappy with the product.
Yep. That's how it's done, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I was gonna say, like, so that style of producing content, is that always the way you've done it? Like just kind of improvising the video?
Yeah, I think at first, when I first started, I was like, all right, I'm gonna put a lot of time into it, and I'll put like on-screen graphics and stuff. And that really, I mean, like it takes forever to add graphics and stuff to certain videos. And if it's a lesson that I think is really, really gonna benefit from having graphics, I'll still do it. But I think the end user, when it comes to a disposable content thing like a daily YouTube upload, doesn't really care. Like no one's ever said like, oh man, like I just couldn't get it because I didn't have a graphic to like walk me through it. If you can really explain it, I feel like explaining it and taking time kind of supersedes just having an on-screen graphic. So that's been my kind of philosophy going forward from the beginning. It's like, all right, well, I can kind of maybe hit more topics more frequently if I just do it one take, like an in-person guitar lesson would be.
Yeah, for sure. That makes sense. And we were actually shout out to Dovidas, because that's how you're here, right? So like I asked him if he knew anyone who would be interested, and he said your name. Yeah,
man.
And yeah, so that's kind of how this episode came to be. But when we were talking to him, I was very fascinated by his approach, because it's like everything is improvised. Like we think about improvisation in music and during like a live performance, but like he just takes it to the extreme. Everything is improvised, and I'm just like, wow, that's not what I do. But that's interesting.
Yeah, right. It's almost kind of funny because, and it speaks to just kind of how artists are in general. Like artists in general, I think it's not a hot take to say they have a hard time finishing things, projects, whatever they are, because you want it to be perfect. We're all kind of precious about it as art. But I think what me and Davidas have in common, it's like, all right, well, this is the thing. Here it is. You can like it, you can not like it, but I'm just gonna keep doing it, and that just kind of gets you into that content creator grindhouse vibe, I suppose.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it's true, and I definitely agree with your hot take there. A lot of artists, they don't have so much trouble starting something, but then when it comes to finishing, it can be an issue. That's why there's like a million guitar players out there that have like 20 unfinished riffs.
Oh, always, right? They never turn into songs.
Yeah, there's no, myself included, I've got some unfinished material that needs to be finished. Such is life,
I mean, here's the thing though, like, does it need to be finished? I feel like that, Prince has a good quote on that. And I'm not like a huge Prince guy, but I guess he's got like millions of like songs that he started. And I think his thing was like, well, I took this as far as it was going to go. And because I left it, there was probably a reason that I left it. So I think there is like merit into like taking a piece of music or an idea and you took it as far as it can go, and maybe it doesn't end up being a song. Because what I've learned is if I really try to just take something and just ram it home, just ram it through, it usually sounds like that's what I did, So there's no shame in leaving something, even if you think it sounded cool. It just got you to a different point.
Yeah, that's a good point. So in terms of like, because now we're starting to talk a little bit more about music and not necessarily guitar, but what's your favorite thing to do on guitar? Like in terms of like, it could be improvising solos, like writing music, writing riffs, performing.
Yeah, I think I just kind of like coming up with cool chord progressions. What's really fun is like playing like bossa nova style chord progressions, even though that's like not who I am. Like I feel like that's when I'm having the most like fun, because it's something like I kind of like, I'm not great at it, but it's like, oh, this is still kind of fun. Like how like okay, there's a few sports that are better when you suck at it, like racquetball. Like I don't know if you guys play racquetball, but like racquetball is way more fun when you're just like hitting it as hard as you can and running around, just smashing it. And then if you get good at it, you're just like doing kill shots, and then you're not even running anymore. Same with like ping pong. Ping pong is more fun when you suck at it. that's how I am with bossa nova guitar right now. So it's like it doesn't feel like it's what I do, for a job. It's just kind of that joy of when you're a beginner guitarist, and it's like, oh, cool. Like I just got twice as good as I was last week this week. I think you get to a point as a guitarist where it's like you really have to like practice to like get better now.
Yeah, totally. Well, Kaio's got you covered for the bossa nova stuff.
Yeah.
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 You guys go over that in 52 weeks?
Yes, sir. And I was also just going to point out, because that music comes from Brazil, right?
For sure.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. So I'm just curious, like, is there like any specific bossa nova reference that you have on your mind, even if it's just like a couple of songs?
I mean, definitely, it seems like anything by Joe Beam is like the basic kind of way to start going on it. But it is funny. It's like it's all these covers. Like if you look it up, I would say most of what I'm finding is just people covering Joe Beam,
Yeah.
in like cool ways for sure. But again, I'm just like a bossa nova poser, so you're gonna have to tell me. You got to turn me on to some new stuff.
No, but I think it's funny because there's so many versions of Jobim, and like if you take "Girl from Ipanema," which is like probably the most famous of his,
right?
Everyone plays an F, which like I do it when I play here in Brazil, like, and people will say in a jam or at a gig, we will play an F. Like the original key is actually D flat, so
Really, I think didn't Adam Neely do a whole video on that?
Yeah, he did a while ago.
Yeah, I kind of remember something like that.
Yeah,
whatever.
So what's like the main, like, what are your roots in terms of genre?
Well, I'm an indie sad girl through and through. Like I'm the saddest indie girl you'll ever come across. So that's kind of where my heart's at right now. Player wise, I'm from the school of Elliott Smith. So Elliott Smith was probably like the biggest influence on me. But at the same time, it's kind of funny because almost everybody who starts playing guitar has like their Jimi Hendrix, Led Zeppelin phase, right? Mm-hmm. So I think that kind of got me through like the first couple years. So there's definitely, I definitely have that in my bag from an influence thing, but I don't really listen to that stuff much anymore. I think I'm more of kind of like an indie acoustic singer-songwriter vibe, which is funny because you probably wouldn't know that if you just watched the lessons on my channel, because it's like I do feel like so much of learning guitar from beginner to intermediate stage is really just chord progressions and like blues licks. And it's hard to really capture the essence of being an indie sad girl through the guitar community. But I think that's kind of where my heart's at, Mm-hmm. What about you? What are your influences?
Well, my influences, I mean, if we're going way back, like I was really influenced by Maiden and like, the guitar players from there, like Adrian Smith,
sure,
Dave Murray, because I learned a lot of their solos, and I was influenced pretty heavily by Metallica, and also some like pop type, like not super pop, but like Green Day. I love Green Day.
Sure, yeah.
And then like when I got a little bit older, like I went to school for jazz, right? So then I started getting influenced by Pat Metheny and Pat Martina, like the Pats a little bit.
Sure.
And lately though, like I'm not like really influenced by famous guitar players. I'm more just influenced by other YouTubers.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah,
Like who?
Well, not necessarily even guitar, but just the way they produce their content. And guitar might be involved, it might not be. But
okay.
Yeah, I mean, when I look at other people's content, it's not necessarily people that one might even look at as like super guitar centric. I mean, there's this one girl that I looked at recently to just kind of draw some inspiration from, named Lindsay, like Lessons with Lindsay. And I was looking a lot at her stuff, primarily just to like get ideas for my stuff. But
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's kind of like where I'm at.
Okay, cool. Is it kind of like funny stuff? Because your stuff is always pretty funny too. You know, it's like educational and funny, which is how it has to be, right? Who wouldn't want that component in learning?
I don't know, man. Sometimes people get pretty sour, Sometimes people can get pretty offended. And
Dude, that's the best part, though. That's the best part. Because here's the thing, like because they're not going to be your customers anyway, right? So like getting the salty comments it's always been my favorite part about YouTube, and I wish I had more of them. Honestly, like all the ones you get on the podcast, please send them my way because like I feed off of those.
Can do. I will. And yeah, like the comments, they don't affect how I produce content, but it's just funny to me how triggered people can get, just from some guy creating a video about like learning something on guitar. Like it just ruins their week, man. Like they're just,
right.
It's just
a free YouTube video that they could have clicked off at any time, any point in time. They're just like, oh, I'm so mad, and then I just start bashing away.
And
yeah, I love it.
Another thing that actually has been surprising me lately, because a lot of my videos are short form these days. I'm just creating short form content because it's so easy to blast on like all the platforms.
Right.
The amount of people in the comments that are just saying like factually wrong things, because like they'll look at mine and then they'll have a different opinion or something, and then they confuse their opinion with objective fact. And then they write their wrong opinion because it's a wrong fact in the comment section. And then, geez, like my fear is that like other people listen to this person, like don't listen to this person. They don't know what they're talking about.
Like the amount of confidently incorrect people on the internet are just hilarious to me.
Yeah.
Here, case in point, like, and this is I can see how people get this wrong. One comment I always get, it's like if we're talking about like an A minor 6 chord, like the 6 in the A minor 6 comes from the A major scale, and people always think it's a minor, meaning it's you know what I'm talking about. They're like, what A B C D E F? That's an F. A minor 6 has an F in it. Like, what are you, some kind of idiot? You're a teacher. You think A minor 6 has an F on top? And it's like, well, it comes from the major. Like, what? And they just get mad, and they don't understand how like chords are built.
I know, man. It's insane, and like then they say that you don't know what you're talking about, and then some people I don't know if it's true or not, but some people in the comment section might actually not know the difference, and they might read the other guy's comment, and they might think, oh, he's actually making a good point. Maybe he's right.
Yeah, that's it. Like you couldn't just Google it, Yeah. Because that's ChatGPT what it is. I wonder what ChatGPT would say about that. What's the 6 note? What notes make a name interesting? Yeah, we'll find out.
So, from all your years of teaching, like what are a few of the most common problems you've seen that prevents people from getting to the next level with their playing?
That's a great question. I do think that the lack of really spending some time with music theory is probably like the number one thing. Because if you do have just a pretty intermediate understanding of just like music theory and like chord building and like how arpeggios work through the fretboard, like understanding what you're doing is so important to not plateau. Because if you understand what you're doing, all you have to do is work on it. And then it just becomes putting like time in. I think when people get stuck is like they don't really know what to do next, right? They're like, okay, I've got these 5 pentatonic positions down, because it all comes down to just pentatonic positions being the death of every guitar player, doesn't it really at the end of the day? So learning just kind of chord, like how a chord is different notes, and then finding those chord tones over the fretboard and how those notes can make extensions and stuff. I feel like if people could just really understand that, I feel like they would be less likely to plateau.
And why can't they understand?
I think it's because when you're starting to learn, you don't really learn about the building blocks. You learn just like quick stuff that you can do right away. right? Like anybody can learn open position E minor pentatonic today. It could be your first day picking up a guitar, and then it's like, okay, this is it. So that's like their introduction. That's like the first hit they get of guitar knowledge. And then I think there may be like a misconception that everything is just building off of that, or just like getting a collection of library of riffs. Because again, it's like super fun. I totally get it, because like, yeah, I can just sit here and I can play like Led Zeppelin riffs on day one, poorly, mind you. And then, like there's no really consideration for tone or timing when you're first starting out, because you just get hooked right away. And I think that mindset doesn't branch off. It's more just like accumulating more instead of branching off to be like, all right, well, this sounds cool, but why does it sound cool?
Yeah, that's very well said. And I agree, because, yeah, especially what you said about the idea of accumulating more.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because people think that they need to now learn the next thing, and then the next thing, and then the next thing, and may not, or they may, but they may not try to relate it all back to each other. Like, how does this work? Like how does this work together, or not? Like, is it in the same key? Like, it would work together, but if it's not, like, why doesn't it? Right?
Totally. And I mean, even if you just like, let's take like one of the most popular examples of it, like we probably all learned to play the Stairway to Heaven intro at some point, right? And it's like, okay, you probably started, if you didn't have a teacher, with like a tab, or even if you did have a teacher with like a tab, it's all like 7th fret on the D string, 5th fret on the G string, 5th fret on the B string, 5th fret on the E string, 8th fret on the E string, and then the 5th fret on the D string at the same time. And it's like you're remembering all that. When if you're just like, oh, it starts with the A minor 7 arpeggio. It's like, oh my gosh, what an easier way to just describe something to somebody. But instead, you're like memorizing a sequence of hand movements, and then it's like you're just gonna overload your brain, kind of doing it that way.
Man, that's gold, because when you were sitting there listing every string and every fret, in my head, I was thinking A minor. Like, that's
yeah,
like,
right.
I was just thinking that, it's like, oh my God, this is so complex.
Yeah, so imagine if we learned it right off the bat like that, and that's kind of what I try to do with my teaching. Is show those and make connections like that.
So, Sean, I imagine that trying to teach that to your students, you must have faced a lot of pushback, because, well, me and Brandon, we do it ourselves. Students having trouble understanding, and sometimes they don't want, because they want like shortcuts and easy way out. How do you handle that, like, with students?
Well, I think the most important thing, and what I think makes a really great teacher, is to really try your best to put yourself in their shoes, right? Because we take for granted how hard it is to play the 7th fret on the D string to the 5th fret on the G string, just to start something, right? If you're starting out, it's like there's making sure your right hand's hitting the right string, but you're looking at your left hand and stuff. So it's easy for us to be like, all right, well, we'll just move on to the next part. So I think the brushback always comes from really just being overloaded with something. So really kind of drilling down and finding out what it is that is making somebody progress slower, I think, is like the most important thing. So if it's something where you can just look at them, that's why it's so important to take a course like yours where you kind of get like feedback, because you, like, a good instructor would be like, all right, well, you're not paying attention to your picking hand. You're spending too much time looking at your fretting hand. It's like you really got to find a way to have that be in sync, right? Or maybe some people are really good at that, and it's like, all right, well, you're rushing through it. Take your time with it. And a good instructor, like having a course like 52-week guitar player, is like a great way to diagnose what's wrong with something, and then to really work on that to get to the next level, because there's no one thing that everybody has different obstacles along the way.
Yeah. I thought you were going to follow up on that, Kyle. So,
Oh, sorry, no, I was just agreeing. Like, I think I didn't have anything to add, because, yeah, I. 100%.
But no, I for sure agree as well. Yeah, and I mean, with the internet now, there really is no shortage of content anywhere.
Sure.
Like, you can get content anywhere, and you can find out technically what you're supposed to do and everything. But what there is a shortage of, I mean, at least if you're being like going through a process of teaching yourself online, is feedback, right? Like, you're not gonna, and like, you need that trained pair of eyes, basically, to correct any potential mistakes. But Yeah, like I guess my point is like there's just so much great content on the internet now, but that's like kind of like half of it.
Yeah, I mean, probably even less than half because again, my strategy is just try to make a bunch of different videos, and hopefully one of them is going to hit you at the right spot for where you're at now, right? And that could mean like there's so many different levels. It's funny how we boil it down to like, well, are you a beginner player, an intermediate player, or an advanced player? As if there's only 3 levels. You know, like, oh, this is one of the questions that, or one comment I'll get a lot, like, well, this isn't for beginners. And I'm like, well, where did it say it was? Like, like I never say that. Like sometimes I'll be like, this is an absolute beginner lesson. Usually I don't. I usually just try to make a video and, you know, maybe give an example right away, and then somebody can make a decision like, oh, this is something that I could be interested for my skill level. But that's why it's awesome having somebody see you play, because a good instructor can diagnose where you're at and then take you from there instead of just randomly logging into a YouTube video and being like, hopefully this is where I'm at, you know?
Totally. And yeah, I mean, what you said about the skill levels is also very true. Because what does it even really mean to be a beginner? What does it mean to be an intermediate level player? Because there are levels to that, right?
Sure, yeah.
And like nobody has ever really defined that. I mean, I think there are a couple videos, like I saw at least one video in my life where some guy was saying what he thinks an intermediate player is. But for the most part, I mean, it's up in the air. And like just because that one video exists, it's not absolute truth by any means. But, you know, but I find it funny because one time I asked my audience on YouTube in the community post section, because you know how you can pull your audience and everything.
Yeah.
So I asked my audience, I was like, describe your level of guitar playing. And I listed like beginner, never picked up a guitar, beginner, intermediate, advanced, pro. And the biggest one was intermediate. Like everybody says they're an intermediate. You know what I mean? So that's what everyone thinks they are. Whether or not they are is up for debate. But that's how they see themselves. You know what I mean?
It's super funny too, because like if you ask me that question, I'm like a professional guitar player. Like, you know, I've gigged for a living and stuff, and I'd be like, I'm not going to say advanced. Like, I don't want that. I don't want that vibe. Like, what if somebody sees me check that and they're like, yeah, prove it. Like, oh, okay, whatever. Yeah, so intermediate is just, I don't know.
Yeah, unfortunately, it just seems to be like the language that people have the easiest time understanding. Because because I use this in my marketing for the program and everything. Like I say, you know, we target intermediate to even advanced level players. But like, if I was gonna sit here and like in the marketing and I wrote out like every single detail, like it's not like an easy to read sentence. You know what I mean? It's not like a crisp headline. Like people, they're gonna see something like that and you keep scrolling or something. But like if there's like a jumpy thing, something that jumps out that speaks to them because they identify with it. Like that's kind of my thought process. But yeah, the internet's a weird place that way because I mean, sometimes you have to like change your language and sometimes like it's not the most accurate that it could be simply because you're casting a wider net and then you have to clarify later and shit.
I mean, if we learned anything about YouTube, the only way to make sure a video will tank is to call it what it actually is.
Yeah.
You know, it's the number one way. Like, oh, you know, I really feel like giving a thoughtful, well planned out lesson on major 9 arpeggios. How to play major 9 arpeggios. Worst video performance you'll ever see in your entire life. So that's why it's got to be like one sick guitar trick to learn fretboard spanning things that'll blow your mind. Major 9 arpeggios. You know, that's it. That's the trick. That's the dirty trick about it, you know.
Yeah, I know, man. It is so foolish, but yeah, like if you like it's such a smaller net to throw it into the sea, right? Like a major 9 net. I mean, the cool guitar trick net is way bigger. You're gonna catch more fish.
And here's the thing that like people don't understand if they're not creators. like, yeah, I want to make that video, and there's a lot of people that would be helped by seeing a video like that, but YouTube is only going to show it to such a small part of that net, and if it doesn't happen to hit that thing perfect, it's not going to show it to the people who might be interested in it. So that's why you have to like hit the first circle hard, just to get the analytics to like bump it up into the next bucket of people, and eventually, hopefully, it'll reach the people that it was meant for.
Yeah, totally. What's the most like, because you've been on YouTube for a while, so like, and we talked a little bit about this like in the DMs, but what do you find is like the most frustrating thing about YouTube these days compared to when you started?
I would say it's just having no power to get a message to your audience at all. Like, whatever, I got like almost 500,000 followers. Like, there's no way I could get a message to them. Like let's say like my Pomeranian bite like spread, and I started like feeling more like a Pomeranian every day. Like somehow like that blood got, and like my hair started getting like poofy, and I started shrinking into a soccer ball. And I wanted to start a GoFundMe to reverse this tiger blood I have running through my leg right now. I wouldn't be able to do that. I'd have to go to Reddit for something like that, So it's like, yeah, I wish that there was a way that I could be like, hey, this video is super important. I would love for people to see it. But it's just, you have to prove yourself every single upload, which I think is like I get it, but also that's super daunting for a creator to have to like always prove him or herself over and over again every single upload. And you're only as good as like your latest video. So I think that's kind of tough, but that's just that's where we're at with algorithmically driven media.
Yeah, man. Like, I'm just sitting here like relating to all this stuff because it's very annoying and it's like very frustrating. But I mean, that's what I like about what we're doing here, because this is very low effort in terms of production, and I enjoy it a lot because we just get to shoot the shit, right?
Yeah, for sure. It's just hanging out with your friends. I think a lot of people relate to that. So it's still value added content, so to speak. We're giving fire hot takes here. And then if it doesn't get recommended or go viral, who cares? You know what I mean? Like, we had a good time. Let it ride.
Guitar shifts. There are only a few days left to join 52-Week Guitar Player before I close enrollment again for a couple of months. I'll be closing the program again by end of day Friday, March 31st, so we can officially start the April cohort. If you've been following me for a while, you'll know that enrollment only resumes in mid-March. Before that, we were closed since January. So when I say I'm closing the program again, I actually mean it. So if you're an adult male that plays at an intermediate level, guitar used to be a big part of your life, but you had to set it down due to other commitments, you want to improve your knowledge of the fretboard, improv, and compositional skill, you're serious, and you want cut and paste practice routines that were designed by a professional and are proven to work, well, you've come to the right place, damn it. There are currently over 600 guitar players in our community who share many of these traits. You're gonna make so much progress here that all your friends get pissed off, but not even mad. Because we offer a 170 plus structured lesson curriculum. The lessons come with built-in practice routines that will tell you exactly what to do step by step, as well as why you're doing it and when to move on to the next one. A Facebook group to share progress videos and get professional feedback. Group Zoom coaching calls 3 times a week to have your questions answered and get your playing roasted. A new backing track shared every week for you to improvise over and get roasted on that too. Accountability, and we do this by making you share a progress video every week for 52 weeks in a row. If you fail to post, I will personally call you out. And very good looking instructors. And who we do not work with. Uncertain people. Busy, annoying high school students that have way too many things going on. Anyone looking for an easy route to be good. Information gatherers that never take action, and people only looking to learn parts of songs. So if you're interested, here's what you gotta do. Step 1 is visit this link and watch the video on the page. Step 2 is click the button below the video. Step 3, scroll down to the bottom of this page and select a pricing plan that works for you. And that's it. Once you enroll, I'll have someone from my team reach out to you and set up a one-on-one call to discuss your goals.
Do you have any other hot takes? Because people like this shit,
Hot takes. All right. You know what's a hot take? Smoke detectors shouldn't have batteries. This is a hot take because they always give you the low battery signal, and smoke detectors are always so hard to get to, right? Look at the ceilings in this place. Like, there's no way that I can just get a smoke detector you know, because like when it dies, it'll just keep beeping. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you know what I'm talking about with like the smoke detector battery thing, right?
I do. I kind of meant more like guitar hot takes.
Oh no. Okay. All right. I've got a list. You want to hear a couple of them? I got a list of hot takes. This is for a different video, but
Okay, well, preview. You this is a preview to that video.
All right. Let's see. Where am I at? It's funny because I have ideas which are totally different, and then hot takes. All right. I feel like maybe these are. All right, I'm gonna change the preface of this. We can put a man on the moon, but I can't have a MIDI guitar that works right. That's a hot take, right? If you guys ever use these MIDI guitars, they're still bad. All of them are so bad.
Yes, I have used them.
Right, and it's like why can't we figure MIDI? The Roland one is fine, but that thing's like 21 years old. Like, why have we not updated MIDI guitars ever?
I heard that the new Jamstick is decent, but I've never tried it. Like, it's like full size.
I've been burned by the Jamstick in the past, or the Jammy. Did you ever get one of those Jammy guitars? Do you know what I'm talking about? I don't know if this is by the same people as the Jamstick, but so there was a big push with a bunch of creators. I think this might have been just before COVID. Maybe it was during COVID. And it was the Jammy. And they sent me one and I tried it. I'm like, bro, this is like this is the worst. Like, this thing does not work. And I'm very like transparent about my videos where like if I have a sponsored video, I always say it's a sponsored video, but I also don't do reviews. I do demos. I'm like, this is what it is. You can tell me if you like it or not, you know? And so many creators were doing like their Jammy video, and I know they were faking it because there's no way that thing worked. There's 0% chance they could get it to work because it just didn't track and whatever. So yeah, the Jammy, maybe the Jamstick is better. I'm hoping it is, but maybe it is. You know?
I've never tried the Jammy. I did try the Jamstick though, and I didn't find that was too bad, but I did sometimes experience the problem of it not tracking. But apparently like the new one, which I've never tried, but it's like full size and apparently it's good.
Yeah, I guess so.
I don't know, but
you want a scorching hot take?
Absolutely.
You ready for a scorch one? All right, so I'm gonna talk about the Zoomer guitar players out there right now. They could learn a lot from the boomers. All right, now I'm a millennial, so I'm in between. But with the Zoomers, I feel like the guitar heroes are so stoic, right? Like you have like Tim Henson just sitting there looking kind of like an anime villain, and he's like, and he's just like looking like pensively into the distance like that. Whereas like a boomer is gonna like hit like a bend and be like, oh, and it'll make that face like, oh, and like it's costing him something, you know? The boomers are so just like here, like just in their own thing, but it's not costing them anything. I feel like they need to learn the boomer guitar faces when they're kind of doing their shreddy stuff, because it makes me feel like, that guy's in it. He's lost in the moment. But the Zoomers don't have that. And that's something they could learn from the ones that came before them.
So that's interesting because I've seen an interview where Tim Henson, and I don't know if he invented the term, probably not, but where he talked about the boomer bend.
Boomer bends, yeah.
Yeah, that's what you're saying. But like just putting in this, like this becoming a trope, like just, I feel like it makes Zoomers saying this as an offensive thing. So they will want to, to pull away from this. They don't want to, do boomer bends and make faces and all that, which, I mean, they're lost, I guess, but
Totally. Yeah. There's a lot of utility and value in the boomer bends.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a bad thing. But yeah, I agree. That was said a bit derisively by our good friend Tim. Nothing against Tim. Tim's amazing, right? But instead of fighting the boomers, this is the problem of the world anyways. Instead of fighting each other, let's learn from each other. Come on.
Well, here's the thing as well that I think some people are not going to think about when they hear these things like from Tim Henson or something. It's like the dude is like super sarcastic, right?
Right.
Like, he's not really being serious, and I know this because like, sometimes I act this way as well, right? You'll say things that are designed to like be funny in like a sarcastic sort of manner. And Tim's personality, because I've seen a couple interviews of him, like this is how he is as an individual from my perception. I mean, you know, maybe people watching will disagree, but like that's just kind of built into his personality. So it's not that like if, you know, take like some 14-year-old and they're playing guitar and if they did a boomer bend, Tim Henson was right there. He's not going to like look at them and judge them and be like, you know, he's not, I highly doubt that he would do that. Right. So, and the reason I say this is like the younger people may be, they may stray away from the technique because they think in their minds that Tim Henson would judge them, which is totally
Tim's gonna laugh at me.
Yeah, I can't do it. You know, it's just it's not rooted in logic at all. But I feel some people they like you have to be aware of like, you know, this guy's mantra, right? Like he's not being serious, like he's not taking himself too seriously or anything. So like you also should not take yourself too seriously. Like just I don't know. Some people I think may need that clarification. Maybe not people watching this, because I think people watching this are probably a little bit more, you know, older and wiser. But anyway.
Ready for another hot take?
Absolutely.
This one might be hotter. You guys might push me back on this. Wankers only past the 15th fret.
More detail.
So, and there's no reason to go past the 15th fret on a guitar. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's it.
Wankers only, bro.
Yeah, you lost Brandon on this one. You lost Brandon.
I had a feeling.
Yeah, me too a little bit.
I guess that's why these are hot, though, right?
Oh, respect. I respect it, man. You know, it's
For sure.
That's what the kids call based, right?
It's a lively discussion. For you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Wankers only. You tell me. You tell me why it's not wankers only past the 15th fret.
Okay, so let's define wanker. You know, we were talking about different skill levels earlier and like how there's like ambiguity between them. So define wanker.
I'm thinking of the guy or girl who's like just like, all right, I'm doing a pentatonic thing right here, and it's like people are losing interest. 19th fret bend.
So this is what a wanker is.
Now, I think maybe a wanker in guitar-centric terms is just like playing with just noodling, high noodling over and over again.
Okay, so maybe that's like that guy who only knows one shape of the pentatonic, and then he's playing in A minor here on the 5th fret, and then he goes to the 17th fret.
Maybe something like that. You know, maybe the idea that he was trying to communicate was not well thought out, so he just had no other recourse but just to go as high as he could.
Okay, I think that's a good definition. Okay, I think this is good. So we have it now defined, and basically you're saying anything past the 15th fret is wankers only.
Yep, that's it. That's it.
Okay. Well, I mean, with what I play, I know that I don't play of only that. I would be an exception to this rule, which is why I'm not on the same side as you. I'm sorry. I hope friends.
Well, maybe it's just like this little Pomeranian thing is trying to take over my central nervous system right now. Maybe there's a wanker deep inside you just trying to like override what you are as a musician.
Maybe. You know what's funny? Like I actually posted a video like probably a month or two ago, and I looked like a wanker. Like the way that like my face, you know, my facial expressions. And it was actually a very high performing video. It did very well. And there could be something to it, right?
Dude, maybe I got it wrong here, and I got to pander to those wankers more.
I don't know. Play your audience, right?
So I guess so. You know, I'll try it. Hey, why not? I'm not above changing.
So we asked Dovey this question, and I'd like to ask you this question as well, since you've played live quite a bit. What was your worst live performance?
Oh man.
Let's play into the fears of everyone that's like scared to play live. Let's just like, you know, whatever they're darkest fear or like worst fear is, like you can bring it to life for them. And
All right, yeah. Listen, I got a few horror stories for sure. I do. There's one time I was playing this like it was like one of these like songwriting showcases, and I was playing like a nylon string guitar, which I'm not. I like obviously I can play it, but I wouldn't say it's my forte. And it was me and a piano player and a singer. Man, it was the worst gig ever. So it was like super cold. It was like one of those like community center type seating things. And I tuned up, put the guitar on the stand, and then like sound check was fine. And then we were introduced. So I would come out and I would grab it, and then we got introduced and we just started playing right away. And again, the thing with nylon string guitars is they kind of shrink and expand a lot easier. The strings do, depending on the temperature, than like a steel string. So I played the first chord. It was just so out of tune. Like the whole thing was just so out of tune. And I'm like, oh no. But like there's nothing that we could do because it was like this show that was going on. So I just kind of tried doing this little one note thing where I'm trying to bend multiple notes into tune to kind of follow the piano player like while I'm playing, and I'm just looking at him and I'm like, bro, I got like nothing. I'm just trying to like do what I'm doing, right?
wow.
So that was the first part. That was the first part of the gig that was rough. We were very under rehearsed for this gig too. I like to be like really well rehearsed if I'm doing anything important where I can't just improv and wank around. So I was able to retune after that first song. So I was already a little frazzled. I was like, whew. And then later on, the singer, who was a bit of a weirdo, a bit of an interesting art girl, right? She would just start making up the songs, the structure of the songs as she was going. Like she would like jump out of the chorus halfway into the verse, and then like it was nothing like we had rehearsed. So me and the piano player are just trying to guess where she's going. And it was kind of complicated music too. Like these are like almost like musical theater style like songs. So not just kind of like pop songs where you can just ride the same chord progression to the ground. So me and the piano player, who's this awesome Eastern Russian guy, and we were just in it. Like I was just trying to like, oh, she's going to the verse. And we'd have to just hit that. It's like, oh, we have a feeling like this is it. This is on the edge going back to the chorus. And then we're going to the other part. And that was a tough show, man. That was a tough hang that night. But whatever.
Well, that's the thing. Like the singer is always in the driver's seat because,
yeah,
right? Like that's who everyone is listening to. They are the
right.
boss. And if the boss is, making irrational decisions, it can get turn into a little bit of a sticky situation, right?
Which, how bad is that? Because it's always going to be the singer who's at risk for making the most irrational decisions anyway. So for them to be the boss is like, this is rough,
Yeah, but you said you had a couple. So is that like what? Is there something worse than that, or is there something like on par, maybe not as bad?
Another one that was pretty bad. So most of my gigging happened in Florida, right? And it gets so high. Sarasota, Florida is kind of where I'm getting around a lot. And there's one outdoor gig at this swordfish bar and grill. And they didn't really have a proper stage type deal. So again, this is just me and my singer. And they put us in the corner right outside. So we're already kind of outside. It's like 100 degrees out and it's already hot. But where they had us was directly under the vent from the kitchen. So like, it's like spewing this like hot, terrible air on me. Also, while just like the Florida humidity just hitting me. And it was a 4-hour gig. And I was just like, it was a soul draining experience. And that was, that was like, I almost passed out a few times from like heat exhaustion.
Oh my God, man.
But it's one of those things that I don't like, it becomes so bad. It's kind of funny in the moment. I don't know if you've had an experience like that, but I've had many experiences like that too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Another one was a New Year's Eve gig. This was a 6-hour gig. It's like New Year's Eve is great because it's like usually the highest paying day of the year, honestly. So we had a 6-hour gig at this like fancy restaurant, and this is me and my my girl Kindred. We're playing this one, and we're both, again, not to be that guy, but we're both vegans, right? And
Right.
I try to not I try to not be an annoying vegan about it, but it's definitely like my lifestyle or whatever. Whereas she's like a bleeding heart, like animal activist vegan, which is great. But we're in set one of the 6 hour gig, and we're in maybe like the fourth song or something. And I'm like, guys, this is gonna be a night. So I'm trying to get loose. We're just kind of easing into it. And again, like everywhere else on New Year's, it's so packed. So they have us jammed into like this like back thing, and the serving staff is going in and out, like just right in front of us. So I'm trying to have to like move every time like the server comes and then come back. And again, third or fourth song, they're carrying this tray out, and it's one of those trays where it's like a full pig that has not been like cut up yet with like the apple in its mouth. And it was like, dude, it was like, even for me, like I'm not triggered by anything, but like it was like pretty gross. And I'm like, oh no. So they drive it by Kindred, and she just goes like catatonic, like the life leaves her eyes. And we're like 10 minutes into a 6 hour gig, and I'm like, oh no. So she like starts getting kind of like visibly ill, and I'm like, this is gonna be a long night. So yeah, and then to add matters worse to that, we were right outside where like the main stupid New Year's Eve ball drops. So they've got DJs outside, and the DJs are like that 4 on the floor bass all night. So every time someone would open the door, I would just get this subwoofer hit of like this 4 on the floor thing. But I'm also trying to play the timing of like this like easy listen and jazzy acoustic jams. That was probably the longest night of my life. Actually, that was a rough one.
Yeah. Oh man, that's brutal. Like I've only ever had one 4 hour gig, but it was so long. It was too long. I was actually lucky because my dad came and he plays as well, so he actually covered some of it for me, which was kind of funny.
Oh man, see that's a pro tip is you have the special guests that'll just come in and just steer the ship for a minute while you just like collect yourself.
That is a really funny story though. Like I'm just imagining like this girl who's like, hyper vegan who to see 10 minutes in, like it's just the start of the night, just like
it was rough. She never recovered. I got one more for you now that I'm thinking of it.
Let's do it.
So we're hosting an open mic night. I used to do this every week back in the day. And what it was is like me and Kindred would play the first hour and a half. And then like the next hour and a half, it would just be open to whoever wanted to play, right? And if nobody wanted to play, then we would just go the distance. Okay. So this is one night we were both out of it because we were gigging like 5 nights a week back then. So it was kind of exhausting. And I was still uploading every day. So that was an exhausting time of my life. But we're doing this open mic thing, and we just kind of we weren't feeling it this night. So we had this guy who would come a lot, and we knew that he was a capable singer-songwriter guy with a long set. I knew that he had been gigging, and he wasn't great, but he was like, he could do it. He could play like those 90s hits and kind of just carry a set. So he gets up and he just wanted to do a couple songs, but like selfishly, we didn't want to get back up. So we're really hyping him up after. We're like, yeah, one more song. And we're like super hype growing this dude. And you can tell he's like into it. So we actually had him play the last hour and a half, right? And I was like so happy. So afterwards he comes up, he's like, man, thank you guys for your response. Like that meant a lot to me. And I'm like, dude, you were great. You killed it. Even though, again, I don't want to sound like a jerk, but he was pretty mediocre and just like perfectly fine for someone just kind of getting out playing open mics, but definitely not like a professional level type act. And he's like, oh, I just want to thank you so much. It's like, tonight I actually came, this is going to be my last performance. And then I was going to, kind of give up the dream and go to med school. But you guys, your reaction inspired me to keep going. And I'm like, no, you should still do that. Like, no, you should really just go to med school. But you were great tonight. See you later. And I don't know what happened to that guy. Hopefully he's all right.
Holy shit, man.
Yeah, that one sits on my conscience every now and then.
I wonder if he's ever seen your videos. You get him to reach out.
Yeah. No, don't. I don't want to know.
That I must say, you had us in the first half. Not gonna lie. Yeah.
Yeah. It's
Wow. That's crazy. And I was thinking, well, I mean, it sounded because up until like we had that plot twist, everything sounded like it was working out as best as it could. Like
it was great.
It was good for him if you kept playing. Yeah, it was good for you guys if he kept playing because you got to chill, and it was good for him because he got to enjoy himself, and he was feeling having a good time. That was probably emotionally pretty positive for him. So it sounds like it's like driving down the street. It's good for me if I stay in my lane. It's good for him if he stays in his lane. But yeah, then we just that massive plot twist just kind of
it's just more proof that there's no such thing as a real win-win.
I guess. Yeah, I guess.
Life is a zero-sum game.
I mean, we all die at some point, so.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, but some of us can live forever through our content.
And I think actually I'm feeling pretty good after that Pomeranian bite. I feel like maybe it gave me some superpowers.
Yeah,
feeling loose.
I'm gonna go fight some crime.
That's like the worst animal to gain powers from, like a yappy Pomeranian.
Oh man, this reminds me of the conversation we had with Shred about the best animal band. But yeah, I think that is a pretty shitty animal to gain power from. I would want, I'd want like probably a. I mean, you can't really go wrong with a tiger.
Dude.
Yeah.
For sure, yeah. I get tiger vibes from you.
Is that right?
That's cool.
Yeah. I think I give off more of a fish vibe.
No, tiger for sure.
Fish was my nickname in high school. That's why I went there.
Or like fish with a P? Just why do they call you fish?
It's not really an interesting story actually. When I moved to a new school in the 7th grade, I wanted a nickname. And I kind of came up with fish, and I kind of gave it to myself. Yeah, it's not really.
Oh, you nicknamed yourself like George Costanza style? That was...
Yeah, it's kind of lame, but it stuck with me for 5 years, like all throughout grade 7 to 12, and then I ended up getting best nickname in the yearbook. So
for fish?
Yeah, they did it. They did a guy and a girl. So I was the dude, and then
the girl was Chips.
What?
It's fish and chips.
Latifa, actually.
Oh, that's a nickname.
Yeah. She had Latifa vibes, so that's why. Yeah.
Okay. Well.
Yeah.
Fish, nice. Bring it back. It's not too late.
Well, yeah. Some
tiger
people.
Fish.
Tiger. I actually like tiger better. Maybe we'll drop the fish, but what's funny is like some people actually find me from high school. Like they'll rediscover me. Like think about people that you went to high school with. You have no idea what they're up to, and then
right.
Like sometimes they will discover me and they'll be like, "Holy shit! Like you look a lot like that guy I went to high school with. Is that you?" And it's like, yeah, it is. Yeah, it's funny.
Boom! I love it.
Yeah.
A local celebrity.
Yeah, I mean, I guess. Do you ever get or how many times have you been because I'm sure you've been approached in public, like people recognize you from your videos?
Yeah, I get recognized semi occasionally. It's always pretty flattering. Here's the thing about being like really fake famous, because that's kind of what it is. Like it's there will be times where it happens enough where I can see it happening. Like someone will look at me and you'll see the recognition in their eyes, but like, you can't be like, yeah, it's me.
Yeah.
Like not famous enough to expect to be recognized. It's kind of like this interesting sweet spot. So it's always super flat. Like I love it when it happens. So yeah, if anybody sees me out there, come and say hey, because it's definitely like the ultimate ego boost. But it's cool. It happens a good amount of times,
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I've been recognized like not a crazy amount, but like probably less than 20 times. But It's interesting when it happens, like, because I was going to an MMA club as a hobby quite a bit, and it happened on like 3 or 4 different, at least 3 that I can actually remember and tell the story of, like occasions where someone at the club recognized me, and they're like,
"Oh wow,
yeah," because it's just like it's that. You're in a class, right? There's probably 20 to 30 people in this class, and someone in the class recognizes you, and like it's just, yeah, it just really threw me off guard every time it happens because I just wouldn't have expected that, but it was still cool. Yeah.
yeah." There's been a couple doozies too. I've been recognized in the men's room. That's a weird one. Nobody wants to get recognized there.
No.
Like, oh, hey,
Yeah, you're like,
hey, dude.
yeah, taking
But
care
no,
of business.
yeah, right. But you know, that's the cost. That's the cost we pay, my man.
Yeah, and I think you have to be really famous for it to actually be a problem. I mean, there are YouTubers out there that have 10 million followers that like I just don't know who they are and will never know
Sure,
who they
yeah.
are.
Yeah, one of my best friends out here, he's like proper YouTube famous, like in the millions of stuff. And like when we go out, he always gets recognized and stopped and stuff. And I do feel like that would kind of suck. Like I would much prefer being fake famous than being actually famous, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
But
yeah, for sure. Is that Dovey you're talking about, or
no, God, no, he's not famous. No, don't give him that. Absolutely not. He's just as fake as the rest of us.
Oh, okay. I think I was gonna say maybe I know who it is. Is he a singer?
No.
Okay, I probably don't know.
Unless who do you think it was?
A guy from Sweden?
No, who's that?
I was talking about Rumi because I know he's
Oh, Rumi. Yeah, Rumi's cool.
yeah.
I've only hung out with Rumi at Trey's place, Gear Gods, Trey Xavier. Do you know him?
Yep.
Yeah, so it was I think a couple weeks ago. That's cool. It was Rudy, Rumi, Trey, me, and Davi. We were playing Mario Kart. And dude, Rumi's he's a slayer at Mario Kart, dude.
Really? Well,
Yeah,
you know. Sorry?
Go ahead.
You know who else is a slayer at Mario Kart?
Who's that?
Kyle.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
no kidding.
Yeah, that's my secret.
Who do you main?
I know it's kind of lame because it's pretty meta, but I was just have been using recently just Waluigi and the Wiggler. But I know that with the new expansion pass, like the meta is a bit changed now. I just haven't had a lot of time to play, but yeah, that's what I have been using.
Oh wow.
How about yourself?
Dude, I'm such a poser. I don't know, like Yoshi. I like Yoshi. Probably the worst, but yeah. I don't win much.
Yeah, well, I mean, there are you can win at whatever you want, you just can't win at everything. That's
man, that's some wisdom right there, dude.
They call
that's why you're tiger, bro. You're not a fish. That's not fish wisdom. That's some tiger wisdom.
When you think of a tiger, is that like you associate wisdom with that animal?
I feel like a tiger is pretty wise. I think the elephant is probably the most wise, right? Owls are pretty wise.
Oh, yeah, owls. That's a good one.
Yeah,
eagle.
But I feel eagle's pretty wise. Sure, yeah. A lot of the bigger birds seem wise, but yeah, I think tiger is one of the wiser of them. You know,
that's fair.
Yeah, you're good.
I think of tigers as being, like, they've got untapped fucking raw ability to just that they can use if they need to,
Right. Yeah.
When I think of wisdom, owl does. I think you can let us know in the comments, but I think that owl would probably be my vote.
Yeah, I think that's the top wisest animal.
Yeah.
Definitely not Pomeranian.
No. What would be the lowest?
I mean, there's those like condor birds. Have you seen those condors?
I don't think so.
I think So the California condor is an animal that is like somewhat going extinct just because like it doesn't know how to eat. That or no, those little Boston Terriers. Like, so I just found this out. Boston Terriers can't reproduce. Like, they're all like artificially birthed because they literally cannot mate.
That's some.
So yeah, right. Like, why is this a thing? But so many people want these Boston Terriers, and they always have like health problems and stuff, like these little pit bull like, or bulldog type things. And it's like, yeah, a friend of mine has one, and I'm just like, this shouldn't even be an animal. That's the least wise animal for sure.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty intense. That gives me dodo vibes a little bit because like the reason the dodos went extinct is because they lost their sense of fear. Like it just gradually diminished over time because they all were on this island and they had no predators. So eventually a predator was brought to the island by like boats and like I think it might have been the British. I don't know, but like they accidentally like or there was some, I don't remember the animal, but yeah, they introduced predators and then they all got eaten because they weren't afraid of the predator.
I mean, that's kind of metal though, right? Like that's pretty metal.
Die on your own sword, I guess.
Not even bothered by the animal coming for you. It's like, nah, whatever.
Yeah.
Do it.
Yeah. That's funny. I just picture like a deer like in the road, just a car approaching it, and it just like what? Like he's just gonna hit me.
Do it.
You won't do it.
Just do it. Get it over with.
So, any advice for intermediate level guitar players? Yeah.
Learn your music theory. Learn it. Learn some. Take some time with arpeggios. Even if you don't want your playing to sound like you're using arpeggios, if you learn arpeggios, dude, like then you know all of the spots. That's what's great about them, So I think they're actually even better than scales, just because they're more focused scales, essentially, that have a lot of musicality in it. So lean into the arpeggio game because you also learn how to build chords with them, and I think it just opens everything up. That's my advice.
Yeah, I actually totally agree with that. I think that arpeggios are more useful than scales. So glad to know other people share that opinion. And where can people find you?
Just type in Sean Daniel, SeanDaniel. I'm always out there messing around, doing whatever. Or find me on the streets.
Streets of where? Like East LA, you said?
The hard streets of East LA.
Okay.
Sometimes Florida.
The sunny places, that's where you can be found.
That's right. If you find the sunshine, I won't be far behind, Brandon. That's it.
All right. Well, so go check out Sean, Guitar Chefs, and yeah, for now, that's all we got for you. So, okay, bye.
See ya.